Health Department has confirmed local transmission of the more infectious Delta COVID variant here in the country.
23 of these are local cases, while 24 are returning overseas Filipinos.
Baka nagkaroon din tayo ng failure ng border control kasi nga hindi ganun katindi yung ating pagbabantay. There might be yung mga nakalusot, yung usual na nangyayari. May nahawa sa Metro Manila.
There is a need to identify the causes for this increase in cases in these local governments to preserve the gains achieved in the past 2 months.
I think people should rethink how they move. I mean, regardless of what quarantine restrictions are going to be imposed in the community, I think dapat marunong mag-isip ang bawat individual. Yung ilalabas mo ba today, kung nahawaan ka ng Delta, hindi mo ba isisisi, ipagkasisisi yun.
The government task force will meet this weekend to discuss further measures for containing the local transmission of the highly contagious COVID-19 Delta variant. But what's the next step for the healthcare system? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to The Chiefs. Ako po si Robbie Alampay, and with us online, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Ed Lingao of One News. Chiefs, happy Friday!
Hi,
happy weekend!
Diretso na tayo sa guest natin. Always a very, very busy person, always her valuable time. So we want to make the most of this. Joining us is Department of Health spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergere. Good evening, Yusek Vergere.
Magandang gabi po.
Good evening po.
Ma'am, let's start with the confirmation of local transmission. Now, alam ko po, nakakarindi na to, and for the past weeks, we've all been asking, may local transmission na ba? May local transmission na ba? So, parang may senyales natin na ba, mukhang significant to. But if you could review for us, again, what's the difference between local cases, local transmission, and for that matter, community transmission? And bakit nga ba kami tanong ng tanong tungkol sa local transmission? What's the significance of this?
Yes, sir. No? So, unang-una, ang local case po, pag sinabi namin it's a local case, we are trying to differentiate this from a returning overseas Filipino. So, pag tinignan ho natin yung ating mga kaso ngayon, specifically for the variants, we have 2 classifications kasi kailangan malaman natin kung saan nagmula ang sakit. So, when we say it's a returning overseas Filipino, it's coming from abroad. And when it's a local case, dito na natin na-detect sa ating mga komunidad. As compared, when we define local transmission and community transmission. This is the level of transmission in the community. So when you say it's local transmission, yun pong individual which was found to have this Delta variant, for example, we have found already linkages with the other individuals with the Delta variant as well. So nagkakaroon na ho tayo na nakikita na natin yung relasyon niya dun sa ibang mga tao na na-detectan din natin ng Delta variant. And that is what we have right now in our country. Ang community transmission po, kapag po wala na tayong makitang linkage between and among all of these individuals with the Delta variant at talagang pumutok na yung kaso. Ibig sabihin, widespread na po sa komunidad ang sakit. So now we have the local transmission at ito po ay na-establish naman natin. Kaya nagsasabi yung mga tao, ba't ang tagal niyong magpalabas kung local transmission ba yan? Because we need to have evidence for us to announce that there is local transmission. So we did phylogenetic analysis. Ito po yung ginagawa dun sa mga sequence samples, ina-analyze po yan ng mga eksperto natin sa Philippine Genome Center so that they can be able to connect these individuals kung meron nga bang pinanggalingan na pareho o di kaya ay sila pala ay nagka-interact, hindi natin nakita, but through the sequencing, pareho pala ng mga lineages at saka yung branch nung pinagmumulan ng kanilang sakit. So, this is what we did. That's why we were able to establish this local transmission.
Okay, so emphasize lang po natin yun. So, local transmission ngayon ang kino-confirm nyo. Ibig sabihin, oo, dito nahawa yan. Yun yung ibig sabihin. No? At bukod sa dito nahawa, alam natin kung kanino na hawa yan. Pagka community transmission, sobrang dami na. Hindi na natin alam kung kanino mo napulot yan. Ganon.
Tama po yan, sir.
Okay, so wala pa po tayo doon. Nasa local transmission lang po tayo sa ngayon. We have about 50 cases, if I'm not mistaken, or 60 cases.
It's 47.
47. Given that, what do we know given that it's local transmission, supposedly kaya pa nating i-trace, what do we know about these cases?
Well, what we know, when we did the phylogenetic analysis, nakita po natin yung pagkakalink ng mga ibang kaso. No? So there was this one cluster of a family in northern Mindanao. Alam naman po natin na magkakasama sa bahay yung iba dyan, magkakapamilya. At ito po ay nalink po natin sa isang miyembro rin ng pamilya na umuwi dun sa kanilang bahay at nakapanghawa dun sa kanilang mga kasama sa bahay. Yun naman pong isang cluster na nakita natin sa isang lugar din dito sa ating bansa na trace po natin na ang pinagmulan ay returning overseas Filipino. The returning overseas Filipino, meron siyang nanay at may sakit din, nagkasakit ng COVID at nung ito ay binurol yung kanyang ina, yung best friend nitong ina ay yung asawa ng isang kaso doon sa isang area. And she attended the wake and she got the illness doon sa wake na po yun. So doon pa lang, dito sa dalawang example, makikita na ho natin, meron hong local transmission because we were able to trace back and we were able to link these individuals na meron po tayong relationship among them.
Yusek, may clear assessment na ba kayo of what's happening in Butuan? Kasi doon nag-dock yung tugboat from Indonesia. At sabi ng mga city administrator doon, actually 3 daw of the crew members ang bumaba at nagmingle doon sa market. Tapos hindi daw nila alam na infected pala yung 12 doon. And then ngayon they're waiting for the genome sequencing. 5 pa lang daw yung na-genome sequencing and they will have to wait 20 to 30 days. Paano yun? Anong sitwasyon doon?
I don't think that's accurate that they have to wait for 20 to 30 days. Actually, the samples or the specimens coming from this incident, no, this special incident actually, ay iraran na ho. Siya na ho yung kasunod, no? Naka-prioritize na po yan sa amin. And they do not need to wait for 20 to 30 days. After siguro pinakamatagal na 5 araw, lalabas po ang resulta na yan. Malalaman natin yan. Pangalawa, sa pagkakaalam po namin, based on the information that was submitted to us by our regional office, isa lang ho ang bumaba, sumakay po siya ng public transport. Doon sa public transport na sinakayan niya, meron pong driver, meron pong helper, at saka meron pang isang vendor. Doon po naman sa pinuntahan niya, may parang 3 pa, nakasakay pala niya doon sa public utility na yon. Na-isolate agad, ito pong driver, yung helper, at saka yung vendor, ang hinahanap po yung 3 na nakasakay niya dun sa sasakyan na yon. Yun pong 11, well accounted for ng Philippine Coast Guard at saka ng Regional Office ng DOH with the Bureau of Quarantine na andun po sa vessel sa Albay at ngayon po ay sila ay minomonitor.
So sa Butuan, wala pa pong local transmission?
Wala pa ho tayong nakikita, no, for now na kaso dito sa area na ito. Inaantay pa rin po natin syempre, yung ating sequencing result. Kung sakasakaling lumabas ang sequencing result, ang prioritize natin kasi yung mga nakasakay sa barko na positibo, this will be classified as returning overseas Filipinos.
Ma'am, yesterday, I think we all heaved a sigh of relief when the number of new cases of COVID-19 registered only 5,800. I mean, it's still high, pero ang earlier projection kasi ng Octa Research, baka pumalo ng 8 kahapon eh. So, nung nag-5-8, parang medyo nakahinga kami ng maigi. But I understand today na meron palang problema yung ating ang ating database and apparently the numbers were lower or the numbers for the past few days are actually lower than what they really could be. Could you tell us about it po?
Yes, sir. No? So we have the COVID Kaya. This is our central repository of all of these cases. And also, through this COVID Kaya, we determine the outcomes of patients, whether they are active, whether they have recovered, or whether they have died. So ito po yung central repository. Now, during the early part of this week, we had a glitch dito po sa system natin. And that is really something hindi naman po out of the ordinary yan. Talaga nagkakaganyan. Kaya lang ngayon, medyo malaki yung naging glitch kasi yung storage space po ng sistema natin na nagkaroon ng issue. So what happened, hindi nakaka-push yung ating mga CDRS, which is our system for the laboratories, at saka yung iba pa nating mga data, papasok dito sa pinaka-central repository. So yun pong ating mga nire-report na kaso ngayon, ginagawa natin manually through the submission of our laboratories and reporting units. So we are expecting na baka naapektuhan po ang ating cases, the number of cases, the number of recoveries, and most especially nakikita natin ngayon yung sa deaths po dahil nga po walang pumapasok na datos sa atin. So
Nagulat po kami. Nag-zero kanina eh.
Yes, sir. So kaya nga po dun sa message namin, pinapaliwanag po natin para hindi nagkakaroon ng, hindi lead ang ating mga kababayan na may glitch tayo kaya wala po tayo na italang pagkakamatay. Pero starting tomorrow, patuloy na po yan, unti-unti po natin may papasok hanggang nagagawa na po yung sistema natin.
Pero sa kabila po nun, that while we're reminding people, may glitch yan, so huwag kayong masyadong makampante dyan. Ibig sabihin po nun, biglang papalo bukas. Ihahanda rin natin yung mga tao na baka biglang pumalo naman, magulat sila.
Yes, we're telling people already na yun pong mga nai-report natin for these past days ay baka meron po tayong mga naiiwan dahil nga po it is hindi po mapasok yung ibang datos natin doon sa ating central base system. So maaari po madagdagan yan sa numero ng mga namamatay, of course. Doon po sa recoveries din po, papasok din yan. And of course, yun pong trends natin ng kaso, yung mga numero ng kaso.
Do we have an idea, ma'am, by how much? Kahit ballpark figure? Kasi I'd imagine kung bukas, artificial yung magiging numbers because papatong yung mga naipon in the past few days eh. Pero if you even it all out, if you fill in the blanks, do we have an idea by how much yung hindi pumasok? I only ask that po kasi the concerns about rising cases na baka hindi pala natin napansin this week.
Yes, sir. No? So sa ngayon, wala. Pagka nabuksan natin yung sistema at pumasok, makikita na ho natin lahat nung naiwan at doon natin madidetermine how much we have been not able to report. Ito po yung makikita natin after.
Yung second meeting bukas yung IATF, ano po yung magiging input now ng Department of Health? Are you recommending any new measures or further tightening of certain measures to deal with the local transmission?
Sa pagkakaalam ko po, wala kaming meeting ng IATF bukas. Meron ho kaming meeting tomorrow with the Metro Manila Development Authority and the city mayors and municipal mayor of Metro Manila. And then there's a meeting with the President in the evening. So baka po yun yung nababanggit nyo, kasama po yung mga kabinete doon sa meeting with the President. Magpe-present lang ho tayo ng sitwasyon natin ngayon at saka yung estado ng Delta variant and maybe discuss with the President what other measures we can implement.
Yes. Ano kaya yung other measures na yun?
Wala. Pare-pareho naman po yung sinasabi natin. We need the expansion of the hospitals. Kailangan po natin ng stricter border control. Yun pong mga travel bans natin, ipapaliwanag po natin sa Presidente kung bakit kailangan natin ito. Yun pong mga restrictions na nai-announce ng IATF po, kailangan maipaliwanag din po natin uli sa kanya, mapakita natin kung ano po yung picture ng ating mga ospital sa ngayon at ano pa ang kinakailangan.
Until such time po na the numbers can catch up in the coming days, are we also therefore holding off on saying that this is already the start of another surge? Kasi yung Okta the other day, they were saying, kung magkatotoo na hahampas ng 8,000, and we reiterate, maraming salamat naman at hindi pa tayo humampas doon. But they were saying once we start seeing those numbers, then this could essentially be signaling that we have entered the start of another surge. Are we waiting for the numbers to come or are we already at that point?
No, I don't think so because nakikita na rin pa rin naman po namin, hindi lang naman yung COVID kaya, meron naman ho tayo katulad ng sinasabi ko, manual na ginagawa at nakakakuha pa rin naman tayo ng information from the different local governments. Yun na nga lang kasi itong central base natin, nakakakuha ho siya ng outcomes nung pong mga nire-report natin ng mga kaso like who recovered, who died, and who are still active. Yun po yung pinaka-importante sa central base natin. Kung meron man kaming mga naiwan o hindi na i-report ng mga numero ng kaso, may dadagdag natin. Pero sa tingin namin, nakikita naman ho namin kasi ngayon, especially in NCR, na yun pong mga pagtaas at nakakakuha din tayo ng datos galing sa Metro Manila mayors, ng kanilang mga numero. So ang gusto lang ho namin iparating, siguro it is very, para bang, let us try to be careful when we talk about surges and all. Kasi kapag binibigay ho natin yan sa public, nagpapanik yung mga tao. Nakikita ho natin ngayon that we are at that stage na nasa moderate, kung baga. Kung sakasakali, wag naman sana, nandun tayo dun sa platform na yon. So let us try to stick with the facts and let us try to just inform people kapag nandun na tayo po sa punto na yun.
Well, speaking of panic, by way of reassuring the public, kasi ang tinitingnan ngayon ng mga tao yung nangyayari sa Indonesia and yung nag-uumpisang nangyayari sa Thailand. Ano po yung pagkakaiba natin sa Indonesia na we can tell the people, hindi mangyayari yan sa atin kasi ganito dito sa atin? What's the difference in our situation?
Yes, ma'am. I guess we had that advantage, no? We were given time. Nung pumuputok na sa India, pumuputok sa Indonesia, nagsunod-sunod Malaysia and the other countries, tayo po, we were able to control, no, dun sa border ng pagpasok, no, as much as we were able to do so. So tayo, nabigyan tayo ng oras. Tapos nung pumutok na yung sa India, hindi na tayo nagpatumpik-tumpik pa. We started preparing already. Although hindi ko naman masasabi ngayon na 100% ready tayo dyan. Dahil, no country has ever been ready with, this very highly transmissible Delta variant. Pero ang masasabi ko lang po, hindi ko masasabi na hindi tayo magkakaganon sa ngayon because hindi pa natin nakikita yung trend kung paano tataas. Pero ang masasabi ko lang sa ating mga kababayan, sa public, we are preparing and we are really now going to the local governments, talking to them, guiding them on what you should do and guiding them on how to contain the spread of these variants. So hopefully po, yan po ay maging effective for all of us so that we can be able to, we will not reach that kind of level as what the other countries have experienced.
Ma'am, how much more different, this is something that we asked Okta also yesterday in terms of if they could model it. But in terms of actual operations, how much more difficult is it or what changes in the preparations? Given that, if I remember correctly yesterday, Okta was saying NCR now accounts for just less than 15% of the cases. And they were saying if you look at the last surge nung March, Metro Manila was clearly the one epicenter for the Philippines, accounting for 90%. Now 15% sa Metro Manila, but that means that you have more centers of spread out throughout the country. How much more difficult and complex does that make the preparations?
Well, before we had a focused area where we are trying to input the resources that we have and focus for the response. Although when we were having this surge in Metro Manila, we were trying to prepare the other regions already. As what our experts would always say, nakita natin yung trend. Pag pumutok na sa Metro Manila, pag bumaba dito, tumataas dun sa ibang lugar, especially in Visayas area. So we were trying to prepare as well in parallel. But of course, the focus was here in Metro Manila. Pero ngayon po na may mga iba't ibang lugar na sa buong bansa na apektado, mas kailangan po ng double nung ginagawa namin dati. Kaya nga po ang ginagawa namin ngayon, talagang iniisa-isa namin, twice a day, talagang kinakausap po namin yung mga local governments, town hall meetings, conferences, so that we can be able to guide them. But aside from that, the resources also. So ngayon pa lang po, nagpe-preposition tayo, and then syempre, mas mahirap yung dati nakakapag-infuse tayo ng resources sa iisa lang, yung iba ay medyo okay naman sila, pero ngayon po marami tayong tinutulungan, even with the vaccines, no, yung ating pag-allocate ay nagkaroon na rin po ng ganitong prioritization for these areas. Kaya po medyo, syempre, mas challenge po yan sa atin. Kaya lang, kailangan po tignan natin that we expand also how, the cadres and how we do this. No? So kailangan yung focus po ay mas spread out para mas ma-manage din po natin ang lahat ng ibang areas.
Yusek, earlier this week, or was it late last week, I think the health department ordered the retesting of those who had already recovered from COVID-19, from the Delta variant. And I understand 8 of them were listed again as active cases. I'm wondering, I suppose this means that they have COVID again, and have we determined if it's still the Delta variant, if they were reinfected, or if the infection never left?
Yes, sir. Actually, that's a protocol. There's a protocol that our experts have recommended that once individual tested positive and then nag-whole genome sequence, tas Delta variant siya, kailangan balikan natin yan. No? Specifically, yung mga tao nga kasi na na-test natin, where medyo late na po yung na-sequence na samples from them. So ibig sabihin, they have been tagged as recovered already. So we needed to go back to all of these individuals, quarantine them again, test them again. When they are negative in the test, they were released or discharged. But when they turned out positive, they have to continue the 14 days of quarantine. They were all asymptomatic. Sa kanila po, parang 2 o 3, were still continuing isolation. So when we got to them and we had them retested, they were still isolating, completing pa lang ang kanilang ginagawa. Yung 5 sa kanila, nakapag-declare na po sila ng recovered. At nung bumalik po, tinignan natin yung mga test nila. Nung tinignan natin, napakataas na ng kanilang mga cycle threshold values, no? Yung CT value ng test, which indicates that they have a very low viral load already. And the probability of them not being infectious anymore is there. So kapag ka po ganung mataas ang CT value, we do not consider them as parang active pa at infectious. The main reason kung bakit natin siya classify na active, kasi ang atin naman pong outcomes, when we do classification, technical classification, we only have recoveries, deaths, and active cases. So when we had them tested, they were positive, they were classified as active based on this classification because there were only 3 classifications. But
they're no longer infectious.
They're okay and their CT values are high, but still, as an added precaution, they will complete the 14 days quarantine po.
Yusek, you mentioned tightening border controls. Can you be more specific about it? Kasi kapareho niyang sa galing sa Indonesia, lalo na yung sa mga barko, parang mahirap eh. Especially in the south, no, between Indonesia and the Philippines, yung borders natin are so porous eh. Ano bang magagawa natin to tighten the controls?
Yes, tama po yan, ma'am. No? So during one of the IATF meetings, talagang nakipag-usap na po yung mga officials, sila Secretary Galvez, Secretary Duque, manifested already na kailangan hindi lang yung mga airports ang ating binabantayan, pati yung mga seaports natin. Specifically, where there are backdoors, no? Especially in Mindanao, na pwede lang basta makakapasok minsan. So, nag-commit naman po sa atin ang ating mga ahensya na concerned dyan, DOTR and the others, na talagang binabantayan. Actually, nag-deploy pa ng additional personnel, I think in Sulu and Tawi-Tawi, para mag-guard talaga natin yung ating mga borders dyan, our seaports. So, this is one. And then another one would be, yun pong borders natin, kailangan strict implementation tayo nitong 10 days quarantine and 7th day testing. Wala dapat nakakapasok ng hindi dumadaan dito sa proseso na ito para na sisiguro natin na hindi pa pumasok further ang iba pang variants dito sa ating bansa. And of course, the third will be the borders in local government units. And we know that local governments guarded sila pagdating dyan. No? Makikita natin, hindi na nga natin nire-require ang test, nagpapatest pa ang iba, nagpapa-quarantine. And so that should continue. But one of the critical points will be, there should be uniform implementation. Hindi po pwedeng sa Maynila lang natin ginagawa ang border control na ito. Kailangan po sa lahat ng ports of the country, pare-pareho tayo ng pinapatupad. Kasi yan yung sinasabi ng siyensya at ebidensya na magiging protection natin para hindi na pumasok pa ang iba pang variants sa bansa.
Okay. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Have a
ma'am.
happy weekend, ma'am. Stay safe.
Salamat.
Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back. back the chiefs. Now joining us, Dumaguete City Mayor Felipe Remolyo. Good evening, Mayor Remolyo.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Mayor.
Baka nakamute po kayo.
May delay yata. Mayor Remolyo, can you hear us? May technical problems yata tayo. But while we're waiting for Mayor Remolyo, we might as well, of course, explain to people why we're having the Dumaguete Mayor as guest. As you may have seen in the news, there's a very controversial project sa Dumaguete for a 174-hectare reclamation project book.
I think the project is located dun sa one of the more in front of one of the more popular sites in Dumaguete. Yung parang Baywalk nila.
And of course, Dumaguete is known for that. But ito na si Mayor.
Hello?
Mayor, can you hear us? Mayor
Hi, sir.
Remolyo?
Yes, Robbie and Ed, magandang gabi sa inyo lahat.
Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi po. Sir, we were just talking about, of course, why we invited you here.
Thank you for this invitation, Robbie. No?
Apo. And we want to get straight into it. There's this proposal for a 174-hectare reclamation in Dumaguete. Very controversial because environmentalists, on the one hand, they're saying this will damage the famous coastal area of Dumaguete, and then on the other hand, you have lawyers, environmental lawyers, and legal analysts saying the contract itself is fraught with irregularities. They have a lot of questions on the process. There was a proposal to withdraw the council's authority for the mayor to enter into this project. From what I understand, that has been thumbed down by the council. Just to be clear, sir, from where you stand right now as mayor and as a leader of the local government, ano po yung status ng project? As far as you're concerned, is this a go right now? Is it a yellow light? Is it a red light?
You know, there's a lot of disinformation going on, no? And misinformation. Ang status ito ay hindi pa kami or ang city nakapag-apply sa PRA or Philippine Reclamation Authority. And to correct the impression that it's going to obstruct or it's in front of the famous Dumaguete Boulevard, walang ganoon, no? The Dumaguete Boulevard, the stretch of the Dumaguete Boulevard is unobstructed. The stretch of Silliman Beach is also unobstructed. That, yes. We are now at a stage where we still have to apply with the PRA. Ang layo pa nito. The process is from PRA. The PRA executes a contract with the local government and will require us to submit feasibility studies, final EIS or environmental impact statement, ECC, which is very crucial, IEE, hydrodynamic modeling, detailed engineering plans. So, and ang ganito, the crux of the matter or the detailed engineering plans and ECC will now be lodged with the DNR,
Okay.
which will
So
strictly study the proposal.
so Mayor, so you're saying malayo pa because nandiyan pa ang PRA, nandiyan pa ang DNR, both national agencies. But let's address it. Let's address the question on the local level muna. When you say na dadaan pa kami sa PRA, does that then officially say that still that the local government, along with its reported joint venture partner, EM Cuerpo, is already a proponent of this? You have already approved it on the local level, and therefore you are a proponent of this to the national agencies?
Yeah. Let's start it this way. This is a PPP project, no? A public-private partnership whereby it passed through the process. Okay, it took the proposal was made sometime in November 25 of 2019, So it went through at least almost 2 years of processing, and then just about 2 months ago, there was this recommendation from the selection committee. Of course, the process includes the publication, uh, the scrutinizing of the capability of the proponent, and naturally, after the process with the selection committee, it is being endorsed to the mayor for awarding of the contract. And by the way, the PPP contract is not the memorandum of agreement that the council approved. It's the PPP contract only arises when after the process from PRA uh, to DNR would have been completed, and thereby giving the city a notice to proceed from the PRA, and whereby after PRA's notice to proceed, it goes back to the city council for scrutiny, and it will be made into an ordinance. After the ordinance is final, then the city will now give its imprimatur. The executive gives its notice to proceed. The process would probably take 2 or 3 years, depending on how fast these agencies can act on. No? The only controversy here is this. There is a view, the, uh, the environmentalists and the concerned citizens think that with the project, 174 hectares, yung mga corals, yung mga marine life would be quote-unquote matabunan. No? Comparing this project with those of the reclamations in Metro Manila, Cebu, this is a midget project. It just looks big because it has what 74, but this is even small compared to those already approved by the DNR and are already in place, okay, and already functioning. Okay, and by the way, there's a new um, reclamation project in Cebu, Cordova, Cebu, which will be 1,500 hectares. Okay, so ang position ko lang dito is, um, we, the, ang position namin dito is that there should be an equitable balance or a reasonable balance between economic growth, progress, and the preservation of the environment. That's why the DNR issues an ECC, which outlines the conditions by which a reclamation is approved or is given a go signal, a green light, only after a number of strict rules or strict prestations or guidelines are met. For example, ang DNR for reclamation projects require that should there be corals, mangroves, trees that would be affected, they should be replaced by the same quantity. But myself as an advocate, rather as also concerned for the environment, I would even add more I would even not go to the before we go to replacement, I would even require that first, kung merong mga corals or even a marine life that would be affected, the first thing I do, and I'll require the proponent to avoid, if we cannot avoid the destruction or the of this marine life, number 2 step is you integrate. Meaning you make the design such that the marine life will be preserved by integrating. The third, kung hindi talaga ma-integrate or ma-avoid it, papasok ko na sa replacement of these affected corals through artificial reefs. And this will be done since time immemorial, yun ang ginagawa nila sa ECC. Okay? So it need not be a
Mayor,
yes or no proposition. Yes.
Mayor, baka we can go back to basics muna.
Yes,
Tell us
yes.
about this smart city project. What exactly is it, and
Yeah, correct.
what's the plan? What's the benefit for the people of Dumaguete?
The benefit is basically there's the problem of unemployment, poverty, all right, and even uh, those OFWs who were laid off because of this pandemic would benefit from. The city intends to give free hospitalization, free education, subsidy food and utilities, free medicines, housing, but we are a third-class city without burdening the national government. This is a self-help, sustainable project whereby if the investors would be with a 179 smart city project, the investors will be inviting investors. So much so this we can tax them by way of real property tax, business tax. We share in the revenues of the ancillary businesses that the proponent, no, or the developer would be putting up in this project. Imagine 25% of
Yeah.
of the proceeds without a single peso that would the city would cough up for this project. A 23 billion that is it's a rare opportunity for an investor to do it, to invest in Dumaguete at this time of pandemic. And why Dumaguete? And all the fees, application, filing fees, application with the DNR and PRA will be shouldered by the proponent. Apart from its share that the city and the national government will get from the land or the reclaimer. A smart city basically is an environmentally attuned city whereby there are lots of parks and free open spaces, promenades, with the use of solar, with the use of, we require buildings to be green buildings, underground cable, and so on and so forth. There is
Mayor,
partiality on open spaces and promenades in this
yeah.
city. So when
May-
the city, the third class city, Dumaguete now is a third class city. We would be affluent. We would have enough revenues to plow back to the citizenry by way of hospitalization and so on and so forth.
yeah, Mayor,
So without being without
Yeah.
relying on the era of the national government.
Mayor, if you know, certainly I think everybody understands the vision of every LGU leader to want to improve not just their areas but the livelihood and the welfare of their people. But unfortunately, there will always be this debate as to what does it take to bring that about. Unfortunately, when you cite na sa Manila rin naman may reclamation, sa Cebu rin naman may reclamation, you won't necessarily get any sympathies from environmentalists because God knows what we've done to Manila Bay here and what has happened to every reclamation area in Cebu or anywhere else in the country does not really bode well and does not really speak well about how well we've managed our resources. But I want to therefore bring not to, because we're not technical experts here, there will be another time to discuss really the environmental impact here. But one of the issues here also, as you've pointed out, is community acceptance. And that's what I want to get to because it's quite crucial to the legal process.
Yes.
When should community consultation take place and when should community acceptance be established? Is it at the time before, at the time that an unsolicited proposal comes to your doorstep? Is it at the time that you become a co-proponent in a joint venture? Or is it at the time that you submit it as a proponent to the PRA and the DNR?
We have committed to do these consultations, not approval or not public hearings, at every step of the way. From the time that you know, 2 years ago, I have been going around or going the rounds of barangays or even the barangay officials to see this video about the project. That was about 2 years ago. And even business, any forum that I could, I could be a participant in, no? But maybe the time that I've shown this, shown these videos or this concept of the project, tingin nila it's a drawing. It's something not achievable because it's very difficult to get an interested a partner or an interested investor for this project. No? And by the way, unless because there are technical people here, let's say, if you say, you're an environmentalist, you say this will destroy the corals. That is why I would demand from the proponent, and it is also a requirement sa DANR when you apply for an ECC, Environmental Compliance Certificate, to get a marine survey of the marine life of the city. So we will really know where the corals are located, so that una, maa-avoid mo, iwasan mo. Kung hindi mo maiwasan, integrate into the design of the project. Kung hindi, replace. Because that's the ECC. It's a matter of explaining to the people.
But sir, very quickly, I hope you
Yeah.
don't mind. Very quickly, and then Ami has a question. But
Okay,
very
Ami.
quickly, you said, we could integrate, we could avoid, or we could improve, and we could mitigate, and so on. A number of options there. Why is
Yes.
reconsider and stop not an option?
Reconsider and stop.
Not an
There's
option.
a-
I mean, you said, umpisahan natin yung technical mapping, umpisahan natin yung
Yes.
technical studies. Kung makita natin baka merong ma-damage, ang isang option is integrate into the plan. The other option is iwasan. The other option is to rehabilitate. But all of that is going in the direction of the premise na tuloy ito kahit ano mangyari. Why is after
Okay.
the technical support, teka muna, nag-technical study tayo precisely to know all the options. Why is reconsider and stop not an option?
You see, I am mayor of not only those who are active in the Facebook. A number of oppositionists or those concerned, you see, are not even residents of Dumaguete. When you talk of environment, the whole world knows about it. Magpapadala even Wildlife Foundation, Greenpeace, everybody joins in the fray, regardless of what they don't even know the exact picture of the marine life of Dumaguete. You see, Dumaguete is not a dive spot. The dive spot is in Darwin, which is 30 meters away. Okay, I have a study that the boulevard, beautiful boulevard, is now a study on the sea sampling of sometime in 2019. I was alarmed when after the DNR took over Boracay for 6 months, and after there was a lockdown of the Manila Bay, I had that study, and I saw, and we found out that there's already a fecal coliform at the boulevard of Dumaguete with a number of fecal coliform which shoot up to over 1,600 mpn, or most probable number per milliliter of seawater. So, it's not actually a reclamation only. First, it's the establishment of wastewater treatment facility, a smart city. So, when you say just because there are concerns, just because there is an opposition, let's do it the scientific way of approaching it. Are the fears really well-founded? When you say matatabunan ng corals, lahat ba ng buong Dumaguete ba na shoreline, may corals ba? Di ba? Why cannot we avoid the corals? Why cannot we integrate the corals? Why cannot we replace the corals? And that is giving a chance to the transcendental the vision, the transcendental motive of solving the poverty problem of our people. 70% of our people are poor. Walang pabahay, walang trabaho. Okay? Ang new graduates, because we are a university town, go elsewhere, go to Cebu, Manila, and abroad to find the work and splitting the family. There are ills of being an OFW. That is what we want to solve. So that once I stepped down in office, it need not be said that we did not do anything. We did not try to at least try this step so that we can provide a better life for our people.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
You do it a scientific way.
Mayor Felipe Remulyo, and I'm sure we will dedicate more time to talk about the more technical aspects to this. We do want to bring in somebody else on the people opposing this project to the discussion. In the meantime, we'd like to thank you, Mayor Felipe Remulyo, Mayor of Dumaguete City. Maraming salamat po. In the meantime, we'd like to bring in also for her perspective, Attorney Golda Benjamin, law professor at Silliman University. Attorney Benjamin is one of those opposing the reclamation project in Dumaguete City. Good evening, Attorney Benjamin.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Mayor Remolio.
Attorney, very quickly, your reaction to Mr. Remolyo's what he shared with us.
Yes, Mayor Remolio said that this project is going to be very good for the city, and obviously dahil nandito ako as opposition, hindi po ako nag-agree. Pag-isipan po natin yung islang ito magbablock ng 85% of the Dumaguete coastline kahit na yung boulevard hindi mablock, but still it's about 45 hectares worth of coral, 60 hectares plus of seagrass. Irreversible damage ito at kung mag-attempt tayong fix ito at ayusin, it will take years. And on top of that, on the technical, meron tayong, and I'm glad that Mayor Remolyo finally admitted that the city actually scrutinized the capacity of the proponent. Kasi tinignan din po namin yung capacity ng proponent, hindi naman po kasama yung reclamation sa negosyo niya. So syempre matatakot po kami. Sinabi din niya na yun, tinitingnan yung financial capacity. So tinignan namin yung financial statement ng EM Cuerpo, 1.4 billion lang po yung net worth niya. Pinakompute po namin ng mga accountant kung magkano yung babayaran ng EM Cuerpo sa fees pa lang ng PRA. At yung computation namin parang nasa around 900 million na. So saan pa niya kukunin yung 23 billion na gagamitin niyang pang-reclaim. Kaya medyo may malaking takot yung mga tao ng Dumaguete kasi may mga dokumento ding lumabas na state-owned Chinese company yung magre-reclaim. So isa yan sa mga technical na issues at syempre yung pinaka-importante dito, hindi talaga kami nakonsulta. Maganda yung sinabi kanina kung at what point dapat magkonsulta at ito ay dapat sa panahon na pinipresenta na yung kontrata sa konseho bago ito mag-authorize na pumirma yung mayor. Hindi po kami nag-agree at hindi naman po tayo pwedeng magdebate ng 2 oras dito. Hindi po kami nag-agree na MOA lang po yun. Kasi si Mayor Remolyo, inadmit din niya today sa show natin na nag-unsolicited proposal na po at yung term nga ng ginamit niya, it's the awarding of the contract. So contract po yun at kahit yung pagpresenta ng sponsor na konsehal nung resolution na ito sa hearing ng konseho, nag-transcribe po ako. Psych po kasi yung undergrad ko, mahilig kaming mag-transcribe at sinabi niya, I'd like to present the draft PPP contract. At sa PPP ordinance po namin, wala po yung word na MOA. Ang lalabas po talaga sa unsolicited proposal at matapos yung notice of award ay talagang kontrata. So at this point, we should have been consulted. Simple lang naman po yung hingi ng mga taga-Dumaguete.
Attorney, listening to the mayor kanina, mukhang determined siya to push through with the project. Ano ba yung mga options niyo to stop him, to stop the project? Legal and other options.
Yung unang options po, nandito naman si Mayor, gusto po namin talaga siyang makausap at ma-present ng EM Cuerpo yung financial and legal capacity niya to do this project. Gusto namin malaman kung totoo ba itong Polychangda na yung state-owned company ay kasama dito. So itong mga importanteng mga tanong kailangan talaga sagutin ng mayor. Kasi bakit nila in-award yung contract? Nakakatakot naman gagawa sila ng 174 hectares at hindi qualified, hindi kasama sa negosyo ng kumpanya. Siyempre po, dahil abogado tayo, may mga options tayo na legal. Injunction, meron tayong magandang procedure on writ of kalikasan, pwede tayong mag-file niyan. Unavoidable din po, alam naman natin na pag may problema sa procurement, pwede din tayong mag-file ng Republic Act 3019, yung Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. At kung totoo talagang itong Polychangda, yung Chinese company ay kasama dito, posible tayong mag-explore ng mga violations ng anti-dumping law. So marami naman po tayong options sa mga batas natin.
Pero ang kiniklaim po ni Mayor karamihan daw sa mga opponents ay mga outsiders. And he has the people of the city behind him. Yun ang sinabi.
Medyo hindi po totoo. Actually, ako po, gumawa po ako ng matrix, naka-Excel na po kung sino yung naglabas ng mga possession papers natin, yung simbahan. Hindi lang yung Siliman ang nag-complain, may mga universities din at organizations. At ako din po, yung belief ko, pag ikaw ay isang ama ng isang syudad, dapat hindi mo dinidiscount yung opinion ng mga taga Dumaguete na wala na sa Dumaguete. Kasi Dumaguete po, it is very different city. It's a city of gentle people and actually a city of love. Yung mga alumni po ng mga universities, talagang pag may reunion, umuwi po yan. Ganun kamahal ng mga tao yung Dumaguete. So the mayor should stop discounting the opinion and the love of these people. Kasi eventually, yung mga taong to uuwi din po sa Dumaguete. So they have a stake on this issue. Ako po, 17 years po ako sa Manila tumira at kahit nung nandun ako, talagang active citizen ako at tumutulong ako sa ilang mga community projects sa Dumaguete. So just to the mayor, just trust that your people, regardless of where they are in the world, love Dumaguete so much. And that's why we're so passionate about this issue and that we really want to talk to you and we really want you to just follow the law, open it up to consultations, present it on official records dun sa konseho, at sundan lang po natin yung batas. Kasi kung naniniwala po sila na talagang maganda ito for Dumaguete City, transparency is the first step naman.
Ma'am, very quickly lang po, for the benefit of everyone who's not had the privilege really of visiting the very beautiful Dumaguete City, could you situate it for us? Kasi kanina sinasabi ni Mayor na mali naman yung nai-imagine nyo that our beautiful boulevard nandyan sa tapat niya. Where exactly is this project being proposed? And if you could situate it for us, para na-imagine din ng mga tao na, like I said, they have no idea what Dumaguete looks like.
Alright. So tama si Mayor, hindi po mabablock yung boulevard at yung mahal ko na Siliman. Magsisimula po siya, based lang po dun sa mga video na ipresenta din ni Mayor sa public. Magsisimula po siya after ng pier ng Dumaguete, hanggang dun po sa barangay kung saan ako nakatira ngayon. At matatamaan din po yung dagat kung saan ako natutong lumangoy. Meron dun yung childhood home ko. Tapos mabe-break dun sa boulevard at merong hotel dun, yung popular na hotel na Bethel. Hindi yun mabablock kasi meron namang maliit na reclamation doon. At after that, yung barangay after that naman. So, dalawang isla po siya ang mangyayari.
Okay. And then as far as the consultations are concerned, just again to be clear about it, I mean, meron bang naganap na consultation? From the start pa lang nung unsolicited proposal, may naganap na bang consultations?
Wala talaga. Tinanong ko yung ibang LGU na nag-unsolicited proposal ng mga malalaking projects. Yung good practice nga nila, once matanggap ng LGU yung unsolicited proposal, nagsimula sila agad na mag-consultation, which did not happen. Tama si Mayor, 2 years yung unsolicited proposal process. And after that, after nung notice of award, papunta na ng konseho, hindi pa rin nag-consultation. Ako nga po, na-discover ko lang na may ganung kontrata kasi sumabog na at may nagpadala sa akin ng link doon sa council session. 3 tao ang nagpadala sa akin at nagtanong kung pwede ba yon. So, binasa ko naman yung PPP ordinance namin, yung mga PPP guidelines, at talagang nagka-problema din sa consultation. At nandito yung debate kasi biglang tinawag yung draft contract na Memorandum of Agreement. Pero nung July 7 po, ang titulo pa lang ng kontrata na naipresenta sa konseho ay draft joint venture agreement. Hanggang sa notarial, yung kung saan nagnonotaryo, joint venture talaga yung naisulat. So, walang basihan po sa batas natin at kahit sa PPP ordinance at kahit sa dokumento mismo, 11 times yung term na joint venture agreement lumabas at yung MOA naman hindi lumabas. Lumabas lang referring to an entirely different thing. So dito tayo nagkakaproblema kasi may differences in interpretation. But I'm very confident that our interpretation is based on what is written in the contract and what is also in our PPP laws.
But Attorney, where is the council in all of this? Kasi the council is supposed to be representing the people. What I read was that there was a move to withdraw the authority given to Mayor Felipe, but that was shut down by the council in a vote. Although it was a close vote apparently, but it was shut down by the council.
Yeah. The council is at the crossfire, Ed. So ito yung nangyari, tatlo yung resolution, no? Resolution to give the mayor a letter of intent, resolution of no objection to the project. Yung dalawang kasi ito, Ed, importante ito sa PRA. Bago magsimula, kailangan yung dalawa. At yung third resolution is to give the mayor the authority to sign this so-called Memorandum of Agreement. Ang nanalo si mayor dun sa authority to sign the agreement, pero na-withdraw po ang technical term na vacate po yung resolution of no objection to the project, which is very important kasi medyo insulto naman, word pa lang resolution of no objection to the project. Tapos libo-libo yung nagpo-protesta at nagsusulat ng petition. So at least that one, for me, that's a big win. Ano yan win out of love yan sa mga taga Dumaguete. Kasi at least hindi muna masimulan. Wala yung isa sa pinaka-critical na component or requirement bago masimulan yung PRA process.
Okay. Attorney Golda Benjamin, she is a law professor at Silliman University. Maraming salamat po. And again, we'd like to thank also Mayor Felipe Remolyo of Dumaguete City.
Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat
Thank you,
po.
Attorney.
Now, before we cap this week off, we'd like to invite you to watch our coverage of the President's final State of the Nation address on Monday. Please watch this.
On July 26, 2021, the President will deliver his SONA one last time. One News brings you the complete coverage of this year's SONA. From the pre-event talks to the post-event analysis. Know what his administration did in the past 5 years and what needs to be done before his term ends on The Duterte Years. Broadcast starts at 2:30 p.m. here on One News.
And kasama po natin dyan, TV5, One News, Business World, and Philippine Star. In fact, before we end, we would like to greet happy anniversary to the Philippine Star. Ami.
Thank you. 1 month yung anniversary namin.
Ilang taon na ba ang Philippine Star? Ilang taon na?
35.
35. Grade school pa lang po si Ami nung nag-umpisa ang Philippine Star. Minor
Hindi,
celebration.
si Ami mulat sa pool, nasa Star na yan.
But really, congratulations to everybody there, including our boss MGB, and to everybody, all the wonderful people and the committed journalists of the Philippine Star. And that will be all for this special edition of The Chiefs, but we hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News.